right, all right. Welcome to Happy Hour with Lito. I am your host. I have a really, really special guest today, people. Um, you know, this guy has a bunch of accomplishments, too many to name off at once. He's been in great movies. Mr. Cung Le, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, let's get started here. First and foremost, I'm someone that is an advocate of mental health. And this COVID-19 has done a number on a lot of us. You know what I mean? So, how have you been able to keep everything together, with this going on?
Well, with the lockdown and COVID, and of course the mask, because as a lot of people believe in the mask, but then there's a lot of people that don't. But there's plenty of people who have tested. I've seen one where some guy's in the snow and he puts on one mask and you can still see the breath. And he puts on two masks. I think he puts on a third mask and nothing. Then one guy does it with the cigarette and all the smoke still comes out. So what I've been doing is just I've been staying positive, working out every single day. And, while during this time, actually, I kind of like over the years, I really never got a chance to take a break. I've been always on the go, moving, working, training my son, and at one point fighting for the UFC, then doing films at the same time. So actually during this last year, I got a chance to relax a little bit, spend time with the family, really work on my son and my relationship with my wife now. So it's been to me it's been a time needed off, but at the same time I had to keep my son focused for school. I just had to keep everyone focused because being locked down kind of it sucks. So you just got to figure out what you can do and what you can maneuver around with all the legal BS going on with the COVID and now the vaccines and stuff like that. Just all I gotta say is people wake up. Time to wake up, everyone.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know about those vaccines though, bro. I'm kind of, I don't know. It's just, I feel like they produced it too fast. You just never know. It's a risk either way.
Here's the thing. People are going to always have something to say because they believe in the vaccine will help. But man, all you have to do is go do your research, see what is in the vaccine. Why is there baby embryo or DNA or an RNA stuff in there? Now Johnson and Johnson came out with the one-shot deal, but it has almost all the same ingredients. Mm-hmm. Why would you put poison in your body? That's just my own belief. And at the same time, I'm a man of faith. I've been really hitting the Old Testament, and it's crazy. And all this has been predicted 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, not word for word, not right. Names, but you can figure out the little riddles, and the Bible's written in what's that word? Parables. Mm-hmm. So you can figure out. So yeah,
you're right.
my belief and my faith is not in man.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Especially not in our, someone who's, never was a doctor, but has all these crazy patents. Look up the patents, people. Yeah. Look at the numbers behind the patents. Look at some of the name of the serums. That's just straight demonic. And look at their plan behind the whole thing. You don't see it. I think when you wake up, hopefully it's not too late.
You're right. Yeah, we can go a whole hour talking about that. Talking about man and faith.
But I'm glad you're doing this and you're asking the questions, because the fearless reporters and the fearless journalists, they at one point they're fearless because they will go and do a story about climbing the tallest mountains and all the risk to it. But
right.
Look at when it comes to people saying, "Oh, it's a conspiracy theory." Well, how come there's all this data? How come there's these facts, but they can't report on it? You're the one who asked the question. How many news anchors or media would even risk or even mention,
Right.
which I wouldn't trust the vaccine. They all probably already took it.
That's true. That's true. So, like I said before, you have many, many different accomplishments. Um, but MMA is one of them, of course. So what got you into the sport of mixed martial arts, and also what disciplines prepared you for MMA?
I mean, trying to condense the story.
Mm.
I came over here as a refugee. Was before I even got to America, I was in 2 refugee camps. When I came to America, I was in another refugee camp, so that makes 3. Then my grandfather was the chief of police in Vietnam for 5 different cities, or a former. So the government, said that you have 2 hours, 1 luggage each. You have 2 hours to get back here, or you'll be left. So we all got back. We all left. We all went to the refugee camp, and it was on my mom's side of the family. And by the time we got here, it's there's a lot of bullying because a lot of the parents, again, not doing their research, not knowing why there was a war in Vietnam, and putting blame on a lot of the refugees to be here. And we're lucky to be saved. We're lucky to have like a new home, and blessed to be in America. And but there's a lot of people who didn't educate their kids, so their kids only hear what others are talking about. Oh, my brother died, or my dad died, or whatever the case is. People died in Vietnam. A lot of GIs, a lot of innocent civilians on both sides, and there's a lot of racism going on. And so I grew up being bullied, and my mom got tired of it, put me in Taekwondo when I was 10 years old. But it didn't last long because she was working too many jobs. I never was consistent, in the training. So I ended up getting into wrestling in 7th grade, and got back into the martial arts after my second year in college. And then the rest is history. And from there, the journey became. So there was a big gap in between there. All I did was wrestling, and I didn't get a chance to really explore the martial arts where I really wanted to, and or at the level that I wanted to. So now, I haven't stopped. It's You can never stop learning.
Right.
Your
Right.
teacup's got to always be half empty. And like people say, like, of course, the Bruce Lee saying, empty your teacup. Yeah, but my teacup has half of the knowledge that I have picked up. So by combining all the other knowledge in, so that's why I say half a teacup, right? Because you also have your own knowledge. You also want to use what will work for you and what might not.
Right.
And there's maybe some really good techniques, but maybe 3 surgeries in 1 elbow, I couldn't do a weird, choke because my elbow doesn't lock all the way. So I just gotta make it my own style. So over the years, since 10 years old, going into wrestling, back to martial arts, staying with wrestling, then doing jiu-jitsu, and just always having an open mind, I'm where I'm at today.
Okay, that's awesome. So what would you say, what's one of your most memorable fights that you can remember today?
I actually have 3 memorable fights, right?
Okay.
The biggest fight for me out of all 3 of them is the Frank Shamrock fight. But the first one was against Arnie Sobadel in Shidokan. And Shidokan's like a triathlon in martial arts. And Shidokan, Arnie Sobadel was like a training partner and English teacher to the late Andy Hug from Switzerland. He was like one of those karate guys that ended up winning the K1, and then flashy kicks, doing axe kicks. So I grew up, watching Andy Hug, Ernesto Hus, and I would say the last one, but it was representing the United States. It was USA versus China. And I was gonna fight their youngest champion. I believe I was 27 years old, and then he was he was 19 or 20 years old, undefeated for 3 years, beating everyone in China, king of Sanda, and then our whole team was losing. We actually a lot of people don't know this, but we cheated a little bit. So we had nine members, but two of them were U.S. Green card holders, but they were not citizens yet. They were really close to getting their citizenship, but we just needed them anyways. And it was Bunkerd, Fairtax, and Bunkerd in, and Jones. I believe Jung Sunan was part of the the team too. So literally, they were the only one who won, and myself. But every other U.S. team member fought, and this took place in Honolulu, Hawaii, and at the Blaisdell. And then we as a team, we got our tails kicked, but we won the first early fights because of the in and Bunkerd were small, and then I was the main event, so we were able to pull the final win against their top guy at the time. So
that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite fights of yours is you versus Vanderlei.
Yeah.
Silva. That was you lost, but the fight was. That was crazy. Is he really?
Yeah,
he really hits hard, like they say.
Oh yeah, remember he used to hit hard at heavyweights.
Yeah,
and then that was just like my first UFC fight. No excuses. He beat me. He was the better fighter that night, but man, that was a rough training camp for me. I was banged up. My training partner was at the time a peaking King Mo. Where King Mo was just running through everyone, and that was just difficult. I was banged up bad for that. I was like, hey, Hav, I don't think we should be sparring every day. And after kind of me, I feel like I had a big part of it. Hav started cutting back on the sparring, kept it a little bit more. Hey, let's not try to, kill each other, So
Javier Mendez.
Yep, Javier Mendez. Really awesome coach, it's a lot of times I should have listened to him. My first loss in MMA against Scott Smith, he told me, "You're already up. You can run around and literally win the fight. You don't need to do anything." But me, I don't know how to run around. I just know how to try to finish guys and gas or not. Because I remember coming back even in the first round, I was like, "Oh, my arms are burning," because I have taken a 18-month layoff. He's on. You're destroying the guy. Keep doing what you're doing. Take your pace down 2 notches, you'll still beat them. Went out there, did the same thing in the second round, came back. Oh man, I was so everything was on fire. He's like, okay, stick and move. Don't even engage. You can lose this round and win the fight. I'm like, hell, I don't lose rounds. I go out there and then what happened? I lost the round and I lost the fight. So same thing in Vanderlei. It was just a tough training camp. I wish I had that match back, but it is what it is, and I didn't lose to no slouch.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, who were some of your heroes growing up?
I wouldn't say they're heroes, but I looked up and I followed Bruce Lee, and then for the UFC, and of course, I was surprised. Look at Hoist Gracie, small guy beating up all the big guys, and then of course Randy Couture came, and then Fedor, and then then I realized there's so many good fighters now. You just got to follow and support the one who's who has faith in God and who's good for the sport, and you support them, because a lot of these guys, when I, just my own opinion, when they start acting up, when they're trying to draw for themselves, I think they forget the fact that there's so many kids watching them, and now these kids are influenced by the way they carry themselves, and next thing you know, you have these kids running around trying to
that's
do
true.
some of the so I noticed that because my son was like, I started noticing him talking more about. I won't mention any fighters, but he's just talking about it and how cool it was. I'm like, man, hey son, let's have I'm gonna sit down with me. If you think that's cool, then you're in a way you have that bully mindset because that's not really cool. You know, martial artists should be, respectful, have discipline. You know, if the other guy is talking bad about you, you do your talking inside the octagon. Sure, you have to sell the fight, but you don't have to sell the fights with your mouth. You sell the fight with your skills. You sell your fights with not giving up. And if you're up on points, you're not like just running like me. So you go after the kill or you be killed. You know, so that's and then so my son took after that, and now he's, super respectful, and of course there's you got to see those little things in order to teach him. And so I make him comfortable, so he's open now to talking to me or talking to my wife, and then understanding more about what life is not all about just you, but being part of the society, being part of being the light that you want to see in the world, being the change that you want to see in the world, So
that's awesome. That's cool. So now were you close to like any of your teammates, like DC or
no, I just used to just come in and train with all the guys. They're all really cool with me. I didn't get a chance to really train much with DC as a training partner, but DC was a wrestling coach by the time I was like towards the end of my career. But I got a chance to train with Mike Swick, Koscheck, John Fitch, Bobby Southworth, Trevor Prangley. He was over at AK a lot, and there's a few other guys. I can't think of their names right now. Maybe too many shots to the head, but yeah. I mean, I came in, I gave them rounds for their fights, and then they gave me rounds for my fights. And we all gelled really good together. And I think that the how tight that team was. I remember when John Fitch was telling the UFC to, hey, I'm not going to give up my likeness for a game. I'm not going to sign this contract. Then, of course, they turn around and threaten the whole team. And I'm like, thank goodness I'm not part of this UFC shit, trying to kick me out over, someone who has a right to say, no, you can't have my likeness. That's me. You're making money off of it. If you want to use my likeness, pay me.
Right.
Show me the money.
Right.
But, UFC, that's why there's a big lawsuit on them. And that's why we got our class certification. And even though it's with John Fitch, Brandon Vera, with Nate, Nate the Great, but in the end, I stepped up, and then Rob Macy finally had enough of the names with all the other fighters. And when I stepped on board, and actually, who brought me on was Rampage, and Rampage said, I'm going to go back fighting, and then he decided to take a step back, but he brought me in, and that was enough to get the, get this whole case moving forward. So,
that's dope.
So we'll see. 5 years later, we're still in the fight. It's the 5th and probably the final round. And I think we're going to get the KO because the judge already, class certification. And so they want to take it to sudden death overtime. So be it. Now they can lose billions.
Woo. That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt. Do you still watch UFC right now?
Yeah. I mean, I still support the fighters, but I won't, I won't pay for it. I'll just go over someone's house who has it on, I won't pay for it. Or I just watch highlights,
Right.
There's
anyone you like right now?
I think all the champions at each weight, they definitely represent martial arts in the best, the way they could out there. And I think the personalities are good, a good different variety of different personalities, So
do you miss competing?
Oh yeah, I miss it. But it's like I wake up every day, I'm like, competitions against me every day. Only you can defeat yourself.
That's right.
You know. So.
Cool. So you were a coach on Tough China, right?
I was not a coach. I was like the Dana White in China,
Oh, so
but
you were the Dana. Okay.
I was also coaching both teams because they there was a lot of there wasn't no one really putting it all together. Like each team had a good BJJ coach, each team had a good striking coach, but really no one was really putting it together. So I brought my one of my trainers out there, Scott Sheely, and then Javier said he couldn't do it because, of course, UFC, they don't pay much for the position. So I brought Scott out, and we worked with both teams, and I got along with both teams, and got close to both teams, and it really sucks when both guys that you've worked with, they're fighting, and you can't say anything, but that's kind of like it is what it is.
Right.
So I did my job out there, and even at one point, Dana White on either Sherdog or ESPN, he said, "Man, if Kung wasn't out there, the show wouldn't have happened." It's true. The Asian company or the city Lilong, they never filmed a reality show. So several times I picked up the camera, I'm all, please shoot. Then almost like halfway through it, get the shot. Please fucking film, So these guys were taking cigarette breaks every 15 minutes. So
you've also done some great martial arts movies. You've worked with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bolo Yin, even David Carradine. Talk about the experience of working with actors of that caliber.
Every time I walk on set, it's a different movie, different storyline, but it all hones back to because I'm a martial artist and I'm a exciting fighter for people to watch. So I became pretty popular, and they like the techniques that I do, and I have really good control, and I have a high IQ when it comes to fight, whether it's fighting in the ring or in the octagon or for a movie set. And it just clicked well with me, and then I got to a point where I enjoyed doing films and fighting at the same time. But then when the films required longer periods of time for me to be on set, it took away from my training. Then I started noticing, like my shins were not as like, I hit a hard bag. I'm like, instead of like, I don't feel it, I'm feeling, dang, that hurt, So, when you take time off, it hurts the other area. And so I decided, I can't fight forever, but I can be doing, things that I love, like martial arts and fight choreograph, and, even, be a character or even star in some movies like Dragon Eyes or, A Certain Justice, which Lionsgate ended up changing it back to puncture wounds, and getting a chance to work with Russell Crowe and Lucy Liu and Daniel Wu on The Man with the Iron Fist, and working with RZA was definitely was cool, and now focusing on the sun. And I feel like, it's a little bit harder to be in Hollywood, as
yes,
there's a lot of stuff going on. So for me, I'll just do my own film, and doesn't have to be a big budget, but if you get a good message and good action and good acting, and and people understand the story, and they can follow the journey of the character and understand and take something when they're done with the movie, then that's what I'll do. So that's what the plan is.
That's dope. So I've never seen the movie, but I heard that you played a character in a movie that was based off the video game Tekken. Is that true?
Yeah, that when I got the audition and I just crushed it for martial law, because that's the character I used to play for Tekken all the time. I was like, this is gonna be so awesome. But then at the same time, I knew that the start date was at this time, so I would still have 2 months for my fight camp for Frank Shamrock, and I already had started training. But then next thing I know, they kept pushing. I'm like, there's like 1 month left before I fight. I can't do it. So they really like took 5 days and they shot me out. And man, I ended up getting 21 stitches from the lead actor who missed his mark on the easiest move, just a simple hook. And if I didn't roll with the punches, he would just hit me in the face. But since I sold the punch for him, I angled, and then he clipped me right here and just split my lip open. And I went back, and there was 3.5 weeks, left. And I remember on one of my interviews, I'm like, holy crap, you can see the stitches just out there, right? And then I was like, definitely he's gonna hunt for that. First round in the fight, boom! I just felt all the blood come out, and I felt like the lip swelled up. I'm like, shit. Yep, I was right. I jinxed myself. So
I did see on Instagram that you and your son were doing some training. Is he looking to get into the sport?
Yep. Yeah, he wants to fight. He's a little beast. Real good shape. He doesn't get tired. He wrestles good. I just got to work on his ground game a little bit, but we'll start him out in like the stand up, Sanda or whatever it is, and he hits like he hits like men. He's 16 years old and he hits harder than some of the men I know. So
wow,
yeah,
you got good genes.
yeah. Thank you, God.
Yes, sir.
So.
Did you get a chance to catch the Conor McGregor fight when he fought Dustin?
Yep.
And he now those calf kicks. I don't recall y'all being able to kick those back in the day, or because you did a lot of kicks to the body and to the head, but that calf kick took him out.
Yeah, you could kick to the calf back then. Just no one really, took advantage of it. I think a lot more people, like I was more like, if I'm going to kick to the leg, I'll try to, take out that muscle, like the quad, right? Mm-hmm. Where it attaches to the knee. That's where I would aim. But like, I think when people are kicking to the calf and you're not checking those kicks, you're not going bone on bone, then those calf kicks will definitely take away your lead leg, and that's a big game changer. But I think it all comes down to proper training, and I believe it. Those low leg kicks, was popular, very popular through the Thai boxing, mm-hmm. And then wrestlers, like, and in the art that I was doing, we catch those low kicks really good, and we get takedowns off of them. And that's why when I fought Rich Franklin, I knew he was going to kick my leg, but if I caught the kick and I took him down, he won't kick my leg anymore. So I just let him kick the leg, and I timed it enough to catch him.
Mm-hmm. Did you have the most fun in UFC or Strikeforce?
I had fun in both, but it was definitely more. The UFC expects more out of you. They expect you to do all these media, especially when you're the main event. And but that's just part of the job, and I really never paid attention. I just always like business, and I try to have fun after. But I think UFC, they got the media machine down mm-hmm. to a science. But if you look at all the fighters from Strikeforce when they bought Strikeforce, who became champions, who were in the main events, who That's was true. Headlining shows. Daniel Cormier, Cain Velasquez, yep. Luke Rockhold, myself, when Gilbert Melendez came over, he was doing okay in the beginning,
Yep.
And then yes, as you see, there's promotions with fighters that can compete, because the promotion's not anything without the fighters.
True.
Right. So you can be the richest promoter in the world, but if you want to pay your fighters the lowest, the fighters are going to get tired. And again, just like society, a lot of people are asleep.
Yes.
Some of the fighters, they're tunnel vision. So in a way, they're kind of like asleep, but they don't see what's happening. Why are boxers getting paid 100 times more than you. And they will all know that when me and all the guys and all the lawyers from Rob Macy to our head, Eric Kramer, who's the main guy, who's, he's the lead lawyer. And when we win this case, all the fighters will get their fair share. We'll be able to negotiate better. They will know their fair market value. And it comes down to, it's not about the promotion. Of course, promoting the fight is very important, but if you don't have fighters to promote, what are you going to do? If you don't have exciting fighters to put and take the risk, what do you have? Nothing. Right. No one's there for you to watch, the promoters sit around and talk shit, so.
That's true. Last question. Is there a fight that never happened that you wish did happen?
Well, there at one point there's a little bit of talk of me and Anderson Silva. That would have been like an amazing fight. I think styles make fights. And I think that would have been just a really good strategic fight. And fighting like a legend like him would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been dope to see that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Conley, I want to thank you, for coming on, giving me, a little bit of your time. You have anything that you want to promote that's going on? That way we can look out for
it? For me, I just, God bless everyone. Stay safe. The world's not getting any safer. So you are your first responder. As you know, there's a little, tension between the Asians and the blacks, and hopefully we can figure this out, because I think for me, I've been saying it all along, I think this is something that is being taught or pushed in an agenda. And if we stayed united, not just the Asians, not just the blacks, but everyone, we are much stronger, and we would go a lot further than being divided.
Yes,
and
sir.
So hopefully, like for me, it doesn't matter who breaks into my house. They're white, Asian, they're all going to get the same treatment.
That's right.
And for everyone out there, be sure to turn on your situational awareness, at the highest level. And if you see something happen, don't turn a blind eye, because when you turn a blind eye and the criminals are getting away with it, and watch what your kids are doing. I check my kids' phones all the time, and I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Like, why are these girls? Who are these girls? Oh, they're my friends. Have you ever met them? No, I met them on, social media. Well, that's not, that's not cool with certain things I'm seeing here, right? So I have to watch out. But like, that's a small thing. Now, if I see a video of him beating and being a bully, trust me, cops might as well arrest me for child abuse. But it's not child abuse. It's here's one last thing. Why is society here trying to demasculate? What's the word? Demasculate the male? Yeah. What the? Yeah. That's some bullshit.
Yeah.
And with what's going on right now, we are in not only as a battle with like our rights, but we are in a spiritual battle.
That's right.
And there is a dark side to that is part of the agenda. Please do your research, dig down that rabbit's hole, and see what's going on. It's out there. And if you get a chance, whether you believe in God and his son, Jesus Christ, if you opened up Revelations, read through Revelations, that was written over 2,000 years ago, and it's happening now. You just got to figure it out and know his words, know what he's trying to tell us, because it's happening. So that's, all glory goes to God, and may mankind stay united, or we will fall.
Yes, sir. Mic drop right there. Ain't nothing else left for me to say. So, you know what I mean? This is Happy Hour with Lito. Cung Le, man, this really means a lot to me. You know what I mean? That you did this for me. So everybody stay safe, like he said. Peace out.
All right.